The transport ship shook as it entered the atmosphere of Kepler 442b. Jake Morrison held his 8-year-old daughter, Lucy, close to his chest as the other human passengers gripped their seats. The ship was old and poorly maintained, like everything the Zephyrians gave to humans. They did not care if humans lived or died during transport. "Daddy, why are we going to this place?" Lucy asked. Her small voice was barely heard over the rumbling engines. Jake looked down at his daughter's brown eyes. She had her mother's eyes and her mother's kind heart. "We have to work there, sweetheart. The lizard people say we must." Lucy nodded. She was young, but she understood that the Zephyrians controlled everything. They controlled where humans lived, what humans ate, and what work humans did. 300 years ago, the Zephyrians had come from the stars with big ships and powerful weapons. They conquered world after world until they ruled the entire galaxy. The ship landed with a hard bump. Through the small windows, Jake could see the mining facility. Tall gray buildings stretched across the rocky landscape. Smoke rose from the factories where humans worked day and night. Armed Zephyrian guards stood at every gate and corner. "All humans exit now," a voice announced over the speakers. The voice belonged to a Zephyrian guard. It sounded like gravel grinding together. Jake picked up their single bag of belongings. Everything they owned fit in one small bag. The Zephyrians did not allow humans to keep much. He took Lucy's hand and walked toward the exit. The air outside was thin and cold. Jake could taste metal and chemicals in every breath. Other humans were already walking toward the main gate. Men, women, and children, all wearing the same gray clothes that marked them as human workers. A huge Zephyrian stood at the gate. He was nearly 8 feet tall with green scaly skin and yellow eyes. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. This was Commander Krulvex, the one who controlled this mining world. "New workers will report to Building 7 for assignment," Krulvex announced. His voice was loud and harsh. "Work begins at dawn. Any human who does not meet their quota will be punished. Any human who causes trouble will be executed." Jake felt Lucy's hand tighten in his. He squeezed back gently, trying to give her courage. They walked through the camp with the other new arrivals. The buildings were made of cheap metal and concrete. Windows were small and dirty. Jake could see human families crowded into tiny rooms. Children played in the narrow streets between buildings, but their games were quiet. Everyone learned to be quiet around Zephyr INS. An older human woman approached them. She had gray hair and wore the same gray uniform as everyone else. "I'm Dr. Amy Carter," she said. "I help new families get settled." "Jake Morrison," he replied. "This is my daughter Lucy." Dr. Carter knelt down to Lucy's level. "Hello, Lucy. How old are you?" 8, Lucy said softly. "That's a good age. You'll go to learning group with the other children. We teach you numbers and letters when the guards aren't watching." Jake was surprised. "The Zephyrians allow education?" "They don't allow it, Doctor," Carter said quietly. "But they don't pay attention to what children do if the work gets done. We're careful." She led them to a small room in Building 12. The room had 2 beds, a table, and a tiny cooking area. The walls were thin, and Jake could hear other families talking in the rooms next door. "Your work assignment is in the deep mines," Dr. Carter told Jake. "You'll dig for energy crystals. The work is dangerous, but you seem strong. Lucy will help in the food distribution center during the day." After Dr. Carter left, Jake sat on one of the beds with Lucy. She looked around their new home with wide eyes. "It's smaller than our old house," she said. Double quotes. "Yes, it is. But we'll make it work. I miss Mama." Jake felt pain in his chest. His wife had died 2 years ago when Zephyrian guards had beaten her for speaking up about poor food quality. Lucy still asked about her mother sometimes. "I miss her too, sweetheart. But she would want us to be brave and take care of each other. And take care of other people too, right? Like Mama always did. Yes, like Mama always did. That evening, they went to the food distribution center. Hundreds of humans stood in long lines waiting for their daily rations. Each person received a small portion of gray protein paste and a cup of water. It was barely enough to survive. Lucy watched as an elderly man stumbled and dropped his food. Other humans walked past him, afraid to help. But Lucy ran over and helped him pick up what she could. She even gave him half of her own portion. "Lucy, no," Jake started to say. He worried about her giving away food when they had so little, but the old man's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, little one. Your kindness reminds me that we are still human." As they ate their meager dinner, Jake watched his daughter. Even in this terrible place, she found ways to help others. Her mother had been the same way. It was a beautiful thing, but Jake worried it would get her in trouble with the guards. Outside their window, Jake could see Zephyrian patrol ships flying overhead. Searchlights swept across the camp every few minutes. The message was clear: humans were prisoners here, not workers. They existed only to serve their reptilian masters. Jake held Lucy close as she fell asleep. Tomorrow would bring hard work and danger. But tonight, he was grateful they were together. He did not know that their time was running out, or that the kindness Lucy showed would soon lead to tragedy that would change the galaxy forever. 3 months had passed since Jake and Lucy arrived at the mining camp. The work was harder than anything Jake had ever done. Every day, he went deep into the rocky tunnels to dig for energy crystals. The air was thick with dust and poison gas. Many workers got sick from breathing it. Lucy worked in the food center, but she also helped Dr. Carter when no guards were watching. She was good at sneaking medicine to sick children. Her small size let her crawl through spaces where adults could not go. One morning, Commander Kralvex called all the humans to the main square. His yellow eyes looked angry as he stood on a platform above the crowd. Other Zephyrian guards surrounded the humans with their weapons ready. "Production is too low," Kralvex announced. His voice echoed off the metal buildings. "The Empire demands more crystals. Starting today, each worker must produce twice as many crystals as before." The humans looked at each other with fear. The current quotas were already impossible to meet. Many workers were already working themselves to death, trying to find enough crystals. "Any worker who fails to meet the new quota will be punished," Kralvex continued. "We will also remove excess population to make room for better workers." Dr. Carter stepped forward from the crowd. She was brave, but Jake could see her hands shaking. "Commander, our people are already sick and weak. We need more food and medicine if you want us to work harder." Kralvex's eyes focused on her like a predator looking at prey. "Humans do not make demands. You will work with what you have or you will be replaced." That night, Jake sat with Lucy in their small room. She was quieter than usual and picked at her food ration. "Daddy, Tommy Walsh is very sick," she said. "His mama and papa died in the mines last month. He's living with the Johnson family now, but they don't have enough medicine." Jake knew Tommy. He was a thin boy, maybe 10 years old, who coughed all the time from the mine dust. Without his parents, he had no one to really take care of him. "Dr. Carter is doing her best to help everyone," Jake said. "But she doesn't have enough medicine for everyone. She told me so. She said if I could help give medicine to the sickest children, maybe more would live." Jake felt worried. "Lucy, that's dangerous. If the guards catch you helping, they might hurt you. But Mama always said we should help people who need it. She said that's what makes us human." Jake looked at his daughter's serious face. She was only 8 years old, but she understood right and wrong better than most adults. Her mother would be proud of her. "Okay," Jake said, "but you must be very careful. Only help when no guards are around." The next few weeks were the hardest yet. The new quotas were impossible. Workers collapsed in the tunnels from exhaustion. Some died from the poisonous air. But Jake and the other miners kept digging because stopping meant death. Lucy continued her secret work with Dr. Carter. She brought medicine to sick children and helped distribute extra food to families who were starving. She was like a small angel moving through the camp, bringing hope to people who had given up. One day, Jake was working in Tunnel 7 with Pete Davis, a mechanic who had become his friend. They were digging deep when they heard a loud cracking sound. "Get out!" Pete shouted. "The tunnel is collapsing." Rock and metal crashed down around them. Jake ran toward the exit, but he heard voices behind him. Some workers were trapped under the fallen rocks. "Help us!" Someone called out. Jake stopped running. He could escape and save himself, or he could try to help the trapped workers. He thought of Lucy and what she would do. "Pete, help me move these rocks." Jake called out. They worked together to lift heavy stones and metal beams. Other workers joined them. Soon they had rescued most of the trapped miners. But when Jake counted heads, his heart stopped. "Where's Lucy?" he asked. Dr. Carter looked pale. She was bringing medicine to the workers in Tunnel 7. She must be trapped inside. Jake ran back into the dangerous tunnel. Rocks were still falling, and the air was full of dust. He called Lucy's name over and over. "Daddy!" Her voice was small and far away. Jake found her trapped under a metal beam with Tommy Walsh. She had been bringing medicine to the sick boy when the tunnel collapsed. Jake and Pete worked together to lift the beam and free both children. Lucy was hurt but alive. Tommy was unconscious from breathing the bad air. Jake carried his daughter while Pete carried Tommy to the surface. Dr. Carter treated their injuries while Jake held Lucy close. She would be okay, but it had been very close. "Why were you in the tunnel?" Jake asked. "Tommy was too sick to come to the food center," Lucy said. "I had to bring him medicine or he would die." Jake felt proud and scared at the same time. His daughter was brave and kind, but her goodness was dangerous in this place. The next day, Commander Kralvex heard about the tunnel collapse. He was angry that workers had stopped to help each other instead of just escaping. He was also angry that production had stopped for several hours. "The humans are becoming too bold," he told his guards. "They think they can waste time on rescue missions. They need to learn that only production matters." Kralvex decided to make an example. He would punish someone to show all humans that helping each other was forbidden. He had heard about the small girl who had been in the tunnel bringing medicine to other workers. "Bring me the Morrison child," he ordered his guards. Jake was in the mines when the guards came for Lucy. By the time he got the message, they had already taken her to the main square. A crowd of humans was gathering, and Jake could see the fear in their eyes. This was how public punishments always began. Jake ran through the camp as fast as he could. His heart was beating so hard he could hear it in his ears. Other miners were running with him. Word had spread quickly that the guards had taken Lucy. When Jake reached the main square, hundreds of humans were already there. The Zephyrian guards had forced everyone to come and watch. Jake pushed through the crowd until he could see the platform where Commander Kralvex stood. Lucy was there, held between two large guards. She looked so small next to the huge reptilian soldiers. Her gray work clothes were dirty and torn, but she stood straight and did not cry. Jake felt proud of her courage, even as fear filled his chest. "Daddy!" Lucy called out when she saw him. She tried to run to him, but the guards held her back. Jake pushed forward, but more guards blocked his way. "Let her go," he shouted. "She's just a child. She didn't do anything wrong." Commander Kralvex raised his clawed hand for silence. His yellow eyes looked at the crowd of humans like they were insects he wanted to step on. "This human child has broken the rules," Kralvex announced. His voice was loud and cold. "She has stolen medicine. She has wasted work time helping the weak. She has entered dangerous areas where she was forbidden to go. She was helping sick people, Jake called out. That's not a crime. Everything humans do must serve the Empire, Kralvex replied. Helping the weak only makes the group weaker. This child has forgotten her place. Dr. Carter stepped forward from the crowd. Her face was pale but determined. Commander, please. The child was following my orders. I asked her to distribute medicine. If someone must be punished, punish me instead. Other humans began to speak up. Pete Davis, the mechanic, raised his voice. She saved my life in the tunnel collapse. She's a hero, not a criminal. Helen Brooks, who worked in the farms, shouted, My son was dying until she brought him medicine. She saved him. More and more humans joined in. They told stories of how Lucy had helped them, how she had shared her food with hungry children, how she had comforted people who were sad and scared. But Commander Kralvex did not care about their words. He raised his hand again, and the guards pointed their weapons at the crowd. The humans became quiet. You prove my point, Kralvex said. This child has made you soft. She has made you think that helping each other is more important than serving the Empire. This disease must be stopped before it spreads. Jake felt desperation growing in his chest. Please, Commander, she's just 8 years old. I'll work double shifts. I'll do anything you want. Just let her go. I'll take her place, Jake begged. Execute me instead. I'm her father. This is my fault. Kralvex looked at Jake with something like amusement. Your offer shows why this child is dangerous. She makes you weak. She makes you think sacrifice has meaning. Today you will learn that weakness has consequences. The guards forced Lucy to kneel on the platform. She looked out at the crowd of humans who had become her family. Her eyes found Jake in the crowd. Daddy, she said, her voice small but clear. Don't be sad. Mama told me that good people sometimes have to suffer to show others how to be good. Jake tried to break through the guards, but they were too strong. Tears ran down his face as he struggled to reach his daughter. Lucy looked at all the humans in the crowd. Please don't let them make you stop being good like Mama taught us. Take care of Tommy and the other sick kids. Take care of each other. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small wooden horse that Jake had carved for her. It was the only toy she owned. She held it tight against her chest. I love you, Daddy, she said. Commander Kralvex drew his weapon. It was an energy blaster that could kill instantly. He pointed it at the little girl who knelt on the platform. Let this be a lesson to all humans, he announced. Compassion is weakness. Mercy is failure. Only obedience to the Empire matters. The energy blast lit up the square like lightning. Lucy Morrison fell forward, still holding her wooden horse. She did not make a sound. The silence that followed was complete. Hundreds of humans stood frozen, unable to believe what they had just seen. An 8-year-old child killed for the crime of being kind. Jake's scream broke the silence. It was a sound of pure pain and rage that echoed off the metal buildings. He collapsed to his knees, staring at his daughter's still form on the platform. Doctor Carter ran to Jake and held him as he sobbed. Other humans began to cry. Some fell to their knees. Others just stood there, staring at the platform where a child's life had ended. Commander Kralvex looked satisfied. Remove the body, he told his guards. Everyone returned to work. Production must continue. But the humans did not move. They stood in the square, looking at the place where Lucy had died. Something had changed in them. Something had broken, but something else had awakened. That night, Jake sat alone in his small room. Dr. Carter had tried to stay with him, but he had asked to be alone. Lucy's bed was still made the way she had left it that morning. Her small clothes hung on a hook by the door. Jake picked up the wooden horse that the guards had thrown back at him. It was stained with his daughter's blood. He held it carefully, like it was made of the most precious material in the universe. He thought about his wife, who had died fighting for better conditions. He thought about Lucy, who had died trying to help others. He thought about all the humans who had suffered and died under Zephyrian rule. Jake walked to the hidden communication device he had built from salvaged parts. He had never used it because the penalty for unauthorized communications was death. But death no longer scared him. He activated the transmitter and sent a message across human space. It was simple and direct. They killed my little girl. They killed all our children, no more. The message traveled from world to world, carried by hidden networks that the Zephyrians had never discovered. On every human colony, on every slave world, people received Jake's words, and something began to stir in the hearts of humanity. Something that had been sleeping for 300 years was finally waking up. Jake's message traveled faster than light through hidden communication networks across the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan received the transmission while she was reviewing supply reports in her office. She read the simple words over and over. They killed my little girl. They killed all our children, no more. Kate had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. She had watched her own people suffer under Zephyrian rule, forced to smile and pretend to be grateful while their children were treated like animals. She had built secret networks, hidden weapons, and trained soldiers in the shadows. But she had needed a spark to light the fire. Lucy Morrison's death was that spark. Kate activated her personal communicator and sent coded messages to human leaders on dozens of worlds. The message was simple. Protocol 7 is now active. It's time. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Jake Morrison had become a different person. The gentle father who had worried about his daughter's safety was gone. In his place stood a man with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Dr. Carter found him sitting in the main square where Lucy had died. He was still holding the wooden horse, but his eyes were cold and hard. "Jake, you need to eat something," she said gently. "You haven't had food in 2 days." "I'm not hungry," Jake replied. His voice was flat and empty. "Your daughter wouldn't want you to starve yourself." Jake looked up at her. "My daughter is dead because she was too good for this world. Because she had too much of her mother's kindness. Maybe if I had taught her to be harder, to be more selfish, she would still be alive. You can't think like that. Lucy was special because of her kindness, not in spite of it." "Kindness gets you killed here," Jake said. "But there are other ways to honor the dead." That night, Jake began to move through the camp. He visited families in their small rooms, speaking quietly to fathers and mothers who had lost children. To Zephyrian cruelty. He talked to workers who had been beaten for not meeting impossible quotas. He spoke to anyone who was tired of living in fear. Pete Davis was the first to join him. The mechanic had been thinking about his own children, who lived on another world under Zephyrian control. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. "Can you sabotage the mining equipment?" Jake asked. "I can make it break down in ways that look like accidents. The guards won't be able to fix it quickly." Helen Brooks joined them next. She controlled the food distribution and could make sure extra supplies reached the families who needed them most. Then came Carl Lewis, an engineer who knew how to build weapons from mining tools. Within a week, Jake had recruited 50 humans to his cause. They met in secret, always in small groups, always in different places. They made plans and gathered supplies. They prepared for the day when help would come. On other worlds, similar groups were forming. The news of Lucy Morrison's death had spread through every human community. Parents held their children closer and swore that no more innocent blood would be spilled. On the industrial world of Titan 7, a woman named Lisa Grant began training former soldiers in guerrilla warfare. She had served in the human military before the Zephyrian conquest and remembered how to fight. On the agricultural world of New Eden, Farmer Joe Miller started poisoning the food shipments that went to Zephyrian military bases. The aliens got sick but never suspected that their human slaves were responsible. On the research station at Alpha Centauri, scientist Ben Taylor began working on new technologies that could help the coming rebellion. He designed weapons that could penetrate Zephyrian armor and communication systems that could not be detected. The Zephyrians began to notice problems. Production was falling on human worlds. Equipment broke down more often. Food shipments were delayed or spoiled. But they blamed these problems on human incompetence, not rebellion. Commander Krull Vex was angry about the situation on Kepler 442b. "These humans are getting lazy," he told his guards. "Since we executed that child, they have been working slower and making more mistakes." "Should we execute more of them?" asked a guard. "Not yet. Dead workers produce nothing. We will increase the punishment for failed quotas instead." But the Zephyrians did not understand what was happening. They thought humans were just being stubborn or lazy. They could not imagine that their slaves were capable of organized resistance. 3 months after Lucy's death, Jake received a coded message through his hidden communicator. It was from Admiral Kate Sullivan on Earth. "Help is coming," the message said. "Be ready to fight. Your daughter's death will not be in vain." Jake felt something he had not felt since Lucy died. He felt hope. He gathered his resistance cell in an abandoned section of the mines. 50 humans sat in a circle, their faces lit by the glow of emergency lights. "I have news," Jake announced. "The fleet is coming. Our people are coming to free us." "How do you know?" asked Pete Davis. Jake held up the wooden horse that Lucy had died holding. "Because my daughter believed that good people would always fight for what is right. She believed that helping others was worth dying for. And she was right. What do we do when they get here?" asked Helen Brooks. "We fight," Jake said simply. "We fight for every child who died. We fight for every parent who lost a son or daughter. We fight so that no human child will ever die the way Lucy did." The humans in the circle nodded. They were ready. They had been slaves for 300 years, but they remembered how to be warriors. Above them, in the night sky, the first human warships were already jumping through hyperspace. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the stars. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity had limits. And when those limits were crossed, there would be consequences. Age of Zephyrian rule was ending. The age of human fury was about to begin. The alarms began screaming at dawn. Jake Morrison looked up from his work in the mines as red lights flashed throughout the tunnel. Above ground, Zephyrian guards were running and shouting orders. Something big was happening. "What's going on?" asked Pete Davis, dropping his mining tools. Jake smiled for the first time since Lucy's death. "They're here." In space above Kepler 442b, Admiral Kate Sullivan's fleet emerged from hyperspace like angry ghosts. 50 human warships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging for battle. The ships were sleek and fast, built in secret shipyards that the Zephyrians had never discovered. Kate stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earth's Revenge. She looked at the Zephyrian orbital platforms that surrounded the mining world. For 300 years, those platforms had been symbols of alien power over humanity. Today, they would burn. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," she broadcast to her fleet. "Today we fight not for conquest, but for justice. Today we fight for every human child who died at alien hands. Today we fight for Lucy Morrison and all the innocents like her." The human ships opened fire. Their weapons were different from Zephyrian technology. Instead of trying to intimidate enemies with flashy displays, human weapons were designed to kill quickly and efficiently. The orbital platforms exploded one by one, lighting up the sky like deadly fireworks. On the surface, Commander Krull Vex watched his defenses crumble. "How is this possible?" he roared at his communications officer. "Humans don't have warships." "Sir," "They're requesting our surrender," the officer reported. "Never. Send all fighters to attack their fleet." But the Zephyrian fighters were built to look impressive and to frighten weak enemies. They had never faced an opponent that wanted to fight back. The human pilots, many of whom had lost family members to Zephyrian cruelty, shot down the alien. Fighters with cold precision in the mines, Jake gathered his resistance fighters. "It's time," he told them. "The guards will be distracted by the battle. We take the command center now." The 50 humans armed themselves with weapons they had, built from mining equipment. They moved through the tunnels like shadows, using paths they had memorized during months of secret planning. Carl Lewis had done his job well. The explosives he had planted brought them the main gate and several guard towers. Helen Brooks led a team to free the human prisoners in the detention center. Pete Davis used his knowledge of the facility to shut down the power grid. The Zephyrian guards found themselves fighting an enemy they had never expected. These were not the weak, frightened slaves they were used to controlling. These were humans fighting for their children, and there was no force in the galaxy more dangerous. Jake led the main assault on the command center. Zephyrian guards tried to stop them, but the humans fought with a fury that the aliens could not match. Jake thought of Lucy with every shot he fired. He thought of her courage, her kindness, and her final words. Commander Krall Vex made his last stand in the command center. He was surrounded by his remaining guards, but Jake could see fear in the alien's yellow eyes. "You cannot win, human." Krall Vex snarled. "Even if you take this world, the Empire will send more ships. We will crush your rebellion." Jake walked closer, holding a weapon made from mining tools and scrap metal. "You made one mistake, Commander. You thought we were animals that could be broken, but we're human. And humans protect their children. Your child was weak. She deserved to die." Jake's finger tightened on the trigger. It would be so easy to kill Krall Vex the way the alien had killed Lucy. But then he remembered what his daughter had taught him about mercy and forgiveness. "My daughter was better than both of us," Jake said. "She wouldn't want me to become like you." Instead of killing Krall Vex, Jake ordered him taken prisoner. The alien commander would face trial for his crimes, but he would live. It was more mercy than he had shown to an 8-year-old girl. The battle for Kepler 442b was over in 6 hours. The human fleet had destroyed the Zephyrian defenses without losing a single ship. On the surface, Jake's resistance fighters had captured every important building and freed all the human prisoners. Admiral Kate Sullivan landed with the first wave of troops. She found Jake standing in the main square where Lucy had died. He was holding the wooden horse his daughter had clutched in her final moments. "I'm sorry for your loss," Kate said quietly. "Your daughter's death sparked something that will change the galaxy." "Will it bring her back?" Jake asked. "No, but it will make sure no other parent has to watch their child die the way you did." News of the victory at Kepler 442b spread across human space faster than light. On world after world, human slaves rose up against their Zephyrian masters. The techniques that had worked on Kepler 442b were copied everywhere. Sabotage, coordinated attacks, and the support of Admiral Sullivan's growing fleet led to victory. After victory, the Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 300 years, began to collapse. Their military was designed to fight weak enemies who would surrender quickly. They had no answer for humans who were willing to die for their freedom. Supreme Commander Vexter on the Zephyrian homeworld watched his empire crumble. "How did this happen?" he demanded of his advisors. "They are just humans." "Sir, it appears to have started with the execution of a human child on Kepler 442b. The humans call her Lucy Morrison. Her death has become a symbol of their rebellion." Vexter could not understand it. One small human child had caused the downfall of his mighty empire. It made no sense to his reptilian mind. 6 months after Lucy's death, Jake Morrison stood in a garden that had been built where the execution platform once stood. Human children played among the flowers while their parents worked freely in jobs they had chosen for themselves. Tommy Walsh, the sick boy that Lucy had tried to help, was healthy now. He ran up to Jake with a group of other children. "Mr. Morrison, will you tell us the story about Lucy again?" Tommy asked. Jake knelt down and showed them the wooden horse. Lucy believed that even in the darkest places, people should help each other. She believed that kindness was more important than safety. And she was right. "Because her kindness saved everyone?" asked a little girl. "Because her kindness reminded us who we really are," Jake said. "She reminded us that we're human. And that means we protect the innocent, we help the weak, and we never give up hope." Above them, human ships patrolled the sky, keeping watch for any remaining Zephyrian forces. But the galaxy was free now. The age of alien tyranny was over. Lucy Morrison had been just one small girl on one forgotten world. But her death had awakened something in humanity that no force in the universe could defeat. Her father had been right when he sent his message across the stars. No more children would die as she had. Not while humans still drew breath.